Hey there, welcome back. I'm Ron Mullen. In this video, I'm going to show you how I built this beautiful little ring display box. This box is made out of Padauk, and I'll show you an easy way to wrap the grain around three sides. Inside are rows of velvet wrapping foam, and it holds the rings really well. It makes a beautiful way to display them. Also, the finish on this, because it was Padauk, was a little tricky, but I'll show you a surefire way to make it easy every time. So let's get out in the shop and start building. I've got this nice piece of Padauk. I'm going to resaw it down to a little over 3/8 of an inch and then plane it down to 3/8 of an inch. This will be the outside of the box. It has this nice sapwood inclusion here, and I'm going to use that in the side of the box. All right, I've got this piece cut, sanded. I also cut another piece out. This will be the top. So I'm going to put that aside for now. Now I need to figure out the layout on this side. I'm going to show you a way to put this box together, and the grain matches on 3 of the corners, but the 4th corner, it does not match, but I'm pretty sure that will be unnoticeable. I've cut this to, this is just about 20 inches long. And the box is going to be, the sides are going to be 6 inches long, and the ends are going to be 3 1/4, and of course it's going to be 3 inches high. So I need to lay this out. I'm going to start on the end here. I'll put an end piece there, and then this will be the side. So this sapwood inclusion is going to start on this side right here, and it'll come around, and then it'll go around the end, and then it will continue around the other side and stop about halfway. But where the box ends right here and right here, I just don't think that there's that much of a difference in the grain that it will be really noticeable. Okay, I need to narrow this board down to my 3 inches for the width of the height of the box. But I'm going to make this cut at 3 1/8 inch. That's very important. You'll find out later on what I'm going to use that 1/8 of an inch for. And also, this cut is going to be with the saw blade set at a 45-degree angle. The bevel for the top, I'm going to start cutting at this end right here, right about there. All of these cuts are going to be cut with the saw blade at 45 degrees and the miter gauge at 90. Whenever I start a new project and I'm going to be cutting angles, I like to put a new fence on my miter gauge, put a strip of sandpaper along the bottom, and then run it through the saw at 90 degrees and at 45 degrees. That way when I'm cutting these angles, I can make the mark for the length, and I can line it up exactly with that 45-degree cut. First one is going to be 3 inches, so I'll mark the 3 inches. Nope, I'm sorry, it's 3 1/4 inches. Almost messed it up there. And then I'll just turn this around and line that mark right up with that cut on the fence. And then I'll do the same for the 6-inch piece. Now I've got one end and one side, and I'll continue down this board, only I'll set up a stop on the table saw to get an exact match for these two. So now these pieces are all cut, and when they all come together, why, it's going to continue around there. The thing of it is, when this end meets this end, this will come around and it will be fastened here. I don't think there's going to be a lot of noticing that those aren't matched. So I'm good with that. Now the next cut is to drop down from the top 1 inch and make a rip cut on all of these. Okay, we're getting a lot of individual parts here, and we want these to all stay together, so I've just put some tape on there and marked so I don't have to figure out later what the grain match is. To cut the lip for the lid to fit down on the box, I've set up the saw with a 1/8" dado stack blade, and I've set it to 3/16 of an inch high against a zero clearance fence. I'm going to cut on this side of the bottom piece and on the back side of the top. Okay, the cut is a little ragged and it just kind of chipped off some stuff there, but if you take the two pieces, these are going to match, put them together and just rub them back and forth a little bit, you end up with a nice smooth cut, and the grain is almost continuous, so it'll look great like that when the lid comes off. All right, I've left the blade at the same height. I've moved the fence 3/8 of an inch, and now I'm going to cut the groove for the bottom to fit into the sides. Now it's time for glue up. I'm going to put these against a square, that way they're good and straight, and then I'll take some blue tape, slide those together. Okay, I've cut a piece of curly maple for the bottom. I've planed it down to an 1/8 of an inch and fits nicely in those grooves. So now it's time for some glue up. Just don't need a lot of glue here. The more glue you use, you just get a lot of squeeze out. And also I'm putting glue in these grooves, so this base that's in here is going to help hold this whole thing together as well. And there's why I don't like to put a lot of glue in, because you get that squeeze out right there. Take care of some of it before I even close the box up. One way to take care of glue squeeze out is take a straw, plastic straw, cut it at a 45-degree angle, and that straw will fit right in that corner and it just takes the glue right out. Just rinse and repeat. Fold it up on itself. Now then, to get a nice tight fit on this top and the base, this is just a piece of tile. I've got some 220 grit paper on there, and I just rub it around. After a few swipes on that, why, it smooths this all up and you get a nice tight fit between the top and the bottom. Now it's time to cut the panel to fit down in the top. I'll rip the bevels with the blade set at 45 degrees first, and then I'll do the cross cut. Now we'll glue this panel on. Once again, you don't need much glue. Make sure it fits nicely, it doesn't slip. And just add the clamping pressure. Okay, I've sanded the box all down on the outside, rounded the corners over, rounded the edges, but I've noticed that right here on the corner, I've got a little bit of chip out right there. The way I'm going to attempt to fix that is I'm going to take some instant wood glue, and I'm just going to put some of this glue right there on that corner. And then I'm going to take it, let it set there a little bit, and then I'm going to take some 220 paper and just sand it. But I'm just trying to fill up that little hole right there. Well, that looks pretty good to me right there. It's got a teeny little hole right there in the end, but I think that'll be hidden once it gets a finish on. So yeah, that'll work. Of course, I'll sand the whole thing down and get rid of this little bit of glue on the top. Now for the interior to hold the rings or whatever you want to use it for, I'm going to use foam. This is about 3/8 of an inch thick, and it's not real hard. And some velvet. I'm going to cut this velvet and the foam with this roller slicer for fabric. Works real well. I've cut the fabric just a little bit larger than the foam, and I'm going to use this 3M Super 77 as an adhesive. Let that set until it gets just a little bit tacky. Okay, it's kind of tacked up. It's been about a minute, so I'm just going to take the foam and put it right down on the velvet. Now we've got velvet attached to foam. I've taken a square and squared off one corner here. Now I need to measure the length of the inside of this box. It is 5 1/4. So I'll go across here and mark 5 1/4. Lay a straight edge on here. Now let's see how this works. Yeah, that will go down in that box nicely. Now the next measurement is how deep the box is, and that is 1 1/2, so double that. So I'll just go down through here and make tick marks at 3 inches. Then I'll take another square, lay it on like that. Next step is to turn these all upside down and give it another shot of this adhesive. Okay, now we need to fold this in half, and this can be a little tricky, so you got to be careful. Got to get the seam at the middle because it's going to stick as soon as you put it together. Stretch these out a little bit, put it like that, and then just press them together. Now you've got a nice little thing to go in there in that box, nice and soft. Now let's put these in the box. Fit down in there nicely. Get 3 in here. Now then, I've got to squish them together to get the other 2 in. What I'm using is a card scraper. This just happens to be the right length, so I can take that card scraper. I've got it against a thing here so I can push it against. Take that card scraper. Drop the next one in there. Take it and slide it out of there and push it back. Drop the next one in. This is the last one. Gets tight. And then just take and push down on all of them like that. Now you have a nice cushy velvet filled sponge box here to put your favorite rings or whatever else you want to put in a special box and display. This is just feels wonderful. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is put finish on this thing, but don't go away because there's a trick to putting finish on this Padauk. Now the finish that I'm going to use for this box is this Minwax spray-on polyurethane. The thing to be concerned about with some of these exotic woods like this Padauk and Bubinga and some of those other ones is that they have some natural oil in them. And if you just spray polyurethane on there, that natural oil will keep this from drying. I'm going to get the oil out of there by using denatured alcohol, and I'm just going to put it on a paper towel, soak it up, and I'm just going to start wiping it, and I'll just rub it down. As you can see, the color is coming off of it. And I've already wiped this. I've vacuumed this, I've blown it with air, and I've used a tack rag on it to get the dust off of it. But as you can see, this oil is coming out of there. Now you need to be careful because that red stuff, if you get it on that white wood underneath there, which is curly maple, it'll just stain it red. So you have to be careful where you're putting this. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll check it a little bit later. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes and feels pretty dry. Check out some of my other box building videos on my channel. And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you on my next one.